Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today on Carroll PMC's video interview series. I'm excited to have you with me today to discuss another's journey through medicine. Today I'm joined by my distinguished Sergeant at Arms, Michael Henderson. Good evening, Michael.
Good evening, President Sujak. It's a pleasure to be here and be a part of this interview co-hosting with you.
Yes, I'm excited as well because today we have a great guest, as always, for you all, Alex Moses. Alex is a PA student at Pacific Northwest University of Health Sciences that graduated Carroll with a degree in biology. In this conversation, we speak about requirements to become a PA, differences between becoming a PA or becoming an NP, and the importance of prioritizing wellness, just to name a few subjects. So let's jump right in and say hello to Alex. Alex Moses, welcome to Carroll PMC's video interview series. It's great to have you here with us this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good seeing you guys.
When did you realize you wanted to become a physician assistant?
So sort of later in high school. So once I graduated high school, I started working as a CNA before, like that summer before coming to Carroll. And then, so that's kind of where I got my start with like medicine. And then like going to Carroll, like sort of for that pre-med reputation that it had, not sure if I wanted to do like PA versus going like the med school route. So sort of working through that, while alongside working like as a CNA at nursing homes, working at Shodair, working at St. Pete's, and shadowing and talking with my classmates, seeing what people older than me, what routes they had done. I sort of came to that PA conclusion.
Yeah, and I'm aware of that St. Peter's job experience and the Shodair experience as well, and I'd love to get into that. But first, start with just in general at Carroll. So you graduated with a biology major, I believe. And
Yeah.
For many of us at Carroll PMC, experiences during our undergrad have been instrumental towards helping us figure out who we are. And so I'm curious what your time at Carroll meant to you.
Yeah, just outside of even like academics and stuff, getting a really great group of friends who were sort of like-minded. Like a lot of my friends at Carroll, we all had medical jobs. We all, we're all in that together. And then Carroll itself obviously has a great reputation for that pre-med. The classes are pretty rigorous, prepares you well for the next step that you want to take with your education, both with like the class rigor and as well as having like really great faculty that you can build, those good relationships with that they'll help you sort of work towards applying for schools and stuff.
And so I understand you worked at St. Peter's Health and Shodair as a mental health technician. And, I believe you also took a gap year before PA school. And correct me if I'm wrong about any of those. What did those how did those experiences influence your career decision?
Okay, so let's see here. So I started off working at a nursing home for a year before going to Shodair. So I went like nursing home for a year, Shodair for a year, and then over to St. Pete's during sort of like my gap year. And so like working through those, I wouldn't say that they specifically influenced me towards PA. That would probably be more like the shadowing I did, just because like at those jobs, like as a CNA, you're more like working just with like nurses. You don't really see the doctor or the PA very often out on the floor. But they did solidify, initially, when I was starting out as a CNA, I was like, I'm going to do this and see if I really want to get into medicine. And so as I was working through those jobs, and I was able to, I enjoyed what I was doing. I enjoyed working with patients, and those jobs, they put you in tough scenarios and kind of, see some of the, the tougher things to see in medicine at that ground level. You go through a lot of different challenges. And so just like working in those jobs, at least, at least gave me the idea that it's like, okay, I want to take the next step with medicine. I'm interested in it, and I'm interested to be able to have a greater role sort of in my patient's care. So, you know, I'm doing this stuff, but, you know, I'd like to take it to the next step.
I think that's a consensus a lot of us reach, because honestly, at this point right now, we are on equal playing fields as far as PA and MD go. As far as we are at so far in your journey, at least for me, I could see going either PA, MD, really any sort of direction in the medical field, because there is crossover between the clinical experiences that are necessary for pursuing a career in medicine, getting professional education, whether that be something as far as a medical doctor or a PA. Are there any differences you've noted? Because I've heard this rumor across many people who are interested in becoming a PA and some who are in the process of it as well. There's a huge emphasis on the hours, the clinical hours, whereas in medical school, medical school applications, it's kind of like a smattering of things you need. Some people call it a checklist. It really just kind of feels like it's just a raining shower cascade of responsibilities and different pursuits. For PAing though, I've heard numbers in the thousands as far as volunteer hours and shadowing hours be thrown out. Before we get into your experiences directly applying to PA school, and since this is a pre-med club, could you do an overview of the requirements to applying to PA school, and just exactly what is considered clinical experiences and non-clinical experiences by PA schools?
Yeah, so it's a little ambiguous on the like clinical versus non-clinical experiences, and that varies by program. So when you're looking at programs you want to apply to, most programs will have a list of what they consider like clinical hands-on versus like not as hands-on. I think the main one that is like very on the line for a lot of schools is scribing right now. And like personally, I think scribing is great. And there are people in my class, my school accepts it. We have a couple of people that were previously scribes in my class. So but there are still some schools that won't accept like scribe hours as considered like hands-on. So when you're applying, that's just something that you have to be aware of. And then it's the same thing with hours where, and it's changing, I think, to sort of make it a little bit more accessible to younger applicants. So I applied with like 1,400 hours, which typically the average is like they say 2,000, which is about a year of full-time work, right? 50 weeks at 40 hours a week, right? That's 2,000. And it, you know, it varies a lot. You know, you've got the whole range of applicants, people that have like tens of thousands, and then there's people that have less if you're younger. So again, that just like varies with schools. The one I'm at, Pacific, I think they only needed like 1,000 or something. They have more of an emphasis on GPA. Whereas if you look at probably like the popular one in the region is like UW MedX's, they still want 2,000. So it's just something you have to look at when you apply, because if you apply and you don't meet the hour requirements for a school, they won't really look at your application, so you'll just waste the money that you spent to throw that application in. Let's see. What else is part of this one?
You guys have, I mean, for us, for medical schools, it's the MCAT. And I know you guys have something, I've heard it called a PCAT before. That might be completely incorrect. Could you expound upon that a little more?
I don't know much about a PCAT. I just had to take for standardized testing, I just did the GRE real quick, and that's not even really looked at too much by schools. It's more of like you just meet a very minimal like score, just so that you can sort of just some baseline thing for them, or not. Is that what it is? The GRE? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. GRE.
Mm-hmm. So there is no standard large exam you have to take to get into PA school?
Not specifically for PA school. Sometimes one of the programs I interviewed at was trialing doing like its own like entry exam. So like it would have all the people on interview day take like this little quiz that went over sort of different topics of basic sciences, but that's like program specific again. So
Oh, very interesting. So again, sort of trying to compare it to the medical school process and applying to PA school, do you apply a year out of when you're going to matriculate as well?
Yeah, it's about, let me think here. Yeah, it's about a year. And then again, it's different programs start at different times, but in general, yeah, you apply through the CASPA, which is like Central Application for PA students or whatever. You put all your stuff in there about a year in advance. It sends it out to all the different schools that you pick, you pay the fee or whatever, and then you do your interviews from there, basically. There's not like too much of a like secondaries. I know you guys, like a big thing for med schools is doing like a lot of secondaries. I did not really do, like, if I did any secondaries, it was like I wrote like a paragraph about something. It wasn't like I didn't spend that much time on anything like that.
Interesting.
I'm interested in how many schools did you actually apply to during your cycle?
I think I applied at like 5 or 6, kind of like in the region, and then I interviewed at like 3. I didn't like apply to a ton. I didn't really think I was going to get in. I kind of just wanted to like see what the process was like, you know, throw my hat in the ring. But
yeah, definitely.
I'm not too familiar with at least specific school categorizations when it comes to being a PA. Now, for us in applying to medical school, you can apply MD, you can apply DO. Those are the 2 large types of medical schools. And then there's a third subset, Caribbean medical schools, which are quite controversial, and US applicants are usually told to steer clear because although it's easier to get into those schools, it's also harder to then apply for residency, at least a US residency then. So are there Caribbean PA schools? Are there certain categories of schools? I'm unfamiliar with the field. Enlighten me.
no, I don't know about schools in other countries. What I do know is that there is a lot of new schools that are popping up. And so when you're applying, okay, what is it called? I think, so the new schools aren't like fully accredited yet. You're like, if you're applying to like these newer schools that I think they're called like under like a provisional status or something, you're applying there with like the hope that they have all their ducks in a row and they'll get accredited like as you're there, and it's fine, right? And so it kind of depends. Again, like, so when I was applying, Mayo Clinic and like University of Michigan were 2 that were like just making programs. So like stuff like that, I mean, that's a pretty safe bet to, you know, if you want to apply there, if you think you can, that's somewhere you want to try and get in, you know, that's a safe bet. Those programs are absolutely going to get accredited. But, you know, some of the, you know, you just have to figure it out if you interview there, you know, is this place, you know, up to snuff? Because if I'm going to pay all this money to go here and then suddenly, you know, it doesn't get accredited, I don't really know where that leaves you, but it doesn't leave you in like a great spot. So I guess that's sort of like the controversial like school thing I would think of right now, just because there is a lot of new schools. So you know, just do your own research when you're applying. Make sure you know what you're getting into.
That is such an excellent point, because I don't think we've ever discussed like new medical schools either, because this happens in the medical school realm as well. I didn't think about accreditation, which is definitely something that's a pressing matter, and that could immediately impact your medical education if you choose to go to one of these new schools. But I also thought about, I mean, you get this new large institution in an area, like if they made one in like Montana, okay, like we have this institution in Billings, you got to set up affiliations to have clinical rotations. And if those affiliations fall through, then you're going to be sending students out of state to get clinical rotations, which is immensely costly, immensely impractical. And I mean, that could cause it to fall through as well. That's just something I heard from a discussion or a podcast I listened to previously. But back to this podcast, thank you for that insight and highlighting that, because that's great insight. Now getting into your experiences in PA school, because correct me if I'm wrong, you've gone through 1 semester, right? And you're currently in your 2nd one.
Let's see here. I've actually done, so I did a summer and a fall. This is spring. So I'm actually almost done. I just have like a little bit of a summer one after this last bit of spring, and then that'll be it. But yeah, it's been all online with COVID still.
Right. So how has that been?
Okay, so the summer, the way the modules are scheduled, it's what is it? It's modular, so it's like body system based or like topic based. But the summer was all online, so I stayed home in Spokane. We didn't have to do any physical exam learning, no anatomy labs, and then I came down here in August for the start of the fall semester. So really, it's still like mostly been all online, and then when we need to, we'll go in and do physical exam skills. We'll go in, we have the cadaver lab that we get a little bit of access to. The time is still like a little bit constrained just because of how they're trying to minimize the like potential exposure risk to each other and stuff. But you know, for the most part, it's been fine. I mean, obviously it's not ideal, but everyone's kind of in the same boat. So you know, you just make the best of it. You know, you got your people that you practice with off campus to try and compensate for that lack of time that you get in class. So
It's really great that you're able to actually go in for certain clinical stuff and certain cadaver labs and things like that. I'm curious as far as general advice goes, because we're in the same boat here at Carroll as well. We're trying to get our education, and a lot of these courses are either hybrid or they're online exclusively. It's really hard to not only extract information from the professor just through a screen instead of being in person and taking in a bunch of different cues, in addition to just it being very distracting in class, just because, I mean, you have access to emails, you have access to social media, you see your roommate on the screen, and then you're wondering what they're up to. It's quite difficult. And so I'm curious, general advice, what advice do you have for us to help encode information, really make the best of online schooling?
You know, I think I struggle a lot. You know, it's hard to like stay focused. You know, I try, you know, you leave the phone away, you put the programs on your computer to like block looking at certain websites and stuff, but it's really hard. It's so much more different to like really retain information just like looking at something off a screen, at least for me. So I don't know if I really have any great advice. The only thing I've been doing is just to like get away from the screen because I'm on it so much is like I print out my study guides and stuff, and then like I put all my electronics somewhere where I can't access them, so I just like can switch it up and not be looking at a screen for like my whole day at least. But it's really hard. You know, you guys are going through it too, so you know, props to you guys.
Yes, we
And Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but that I guess the habit that you built for the study habit, that was, I remember in our conversations previously that you had kind of built that foundation at Carroll. Like you had placed things away, and then you might have used like an on-campus computer because that would limit distractions. And yeah, I think that's a great idea, and it's one that I'm glad you brought up.
Yeah, it's definitely something I picked up at Carroll. Just started doing it. It lets you be more efficient with your time, and so you can have time to go work out or whatever. You know, sort of frees up your schedule if you can be more efficient, I guess. So.
A lot of us at Carroll PMC really try and emphasize wellness. I think it's something that a lot of us pre-meds learn the hard way. I know I've learned it the hard way, and I really like it's absolutely unnecessary to have that hard lesson. There is absolutely no reason why you can't prioritize other aspects of your life besides just academics. Because in all honesty, you're not just trying to meet with a complete academic wizard in a operating room or in a clinic. You're looking to meet with another person as well. So regardless, PAND wellness is pretty important.
Yeah.
As far as your education goes in particular, and I know it's actually shorter than I was even aware of as well. What does it look like as far as COVID-19 goes? Is it looking like it's going to be all online in the future? Do you think that things are going to adjust or change anytime soon?
So our program is, I think it's like a year of didactic, and then like, no, it's like 14 months of didactic and a year of clinicals. And so I believe we're probably going to finish out the didactic, which is like the book learning stuff online. So we'll go through the summer like pretty much all online. I don't really see us going back. I mean, everyone's used to being online at this point, and then there's not that much time left. The clinicals, from what I've heard, will be in person 6-week rotations at different specialties. So the class above me kind of got jammed on them. They started their rotations right when all these things are getting shut down, and so they unfortunately sort of, I think some of their elective rotations are going to get kind of jumbled from that because they weren't able to go right into their rotations, but ours hopefully should be fine. Yeah, I don't think we'll have to do any like extra like Zoom stuff for our rotations is the plan. So that's nice.
Yeah, that was great to hear. I think there's another topic when it comes to choosing to become a PA. I think it's something that actually comes up a lot of times when you're being like, why become a doctor as well? It's why become a doctor? Why become a PA when you could become other health? You could become involved with other healthcare professions. And one profession comes up immediately on my mind is nurse practitioners. They're becoming more autonomous in the field every single day. Now nurse practitioners can even open up their own private practice, but we'll get to that eventually. And both nurse practitioners and physician assistants, they participate in patient assessment, diagnosis, and treatment. Now, I guess just from a sense of what I've read and the research I've done, PAs and physicians tend to focus more on biology and pathology, whereas nurse practitioners prioritize patient education and disease prevention. Do you agree with these similarities and differences? And if so, did any of the former influence you to not become a nurse practitioner and to go towards becoming a PA?
Okay, so this is like an interesting topic, and anyone listening to this, you can take whatever I say with a grain of salt. I'm not like a super huge expert on it. It's like, in my opinion, like at the end of the day, like nurse practitioners and physician assistants are like very similar. So even though maybe like the schooling emphasizes like biology versus like patient education or like preventative health is what you were saying for NP, like in a like a family practice, like primary care setting, both of those types of providers are basically going to be doing all of that type of work. You know, someone comes in like what, type 2 diabetes, you're going to see a ton of that. And you know, whether you're an NP or a PA, right, you're gonna explain the disease and process the biology to your patient. You're gonna what is it, preventative stuff. So you have to like screen like their eyes and stuff for retinopathy. And you know, it's just like at the end of the day, you're treating stuff like extremely similarly. I don't know if there's specific things that either or does that the other one doesn't in most cases, in the tradition, like a standard setting, I'd say. And then, okay, what was the other part? I would say, oh, why not be a NP? Like, I think they're both great. Honestly, I was a biology major. I wasn't, to get into NP school, you have to do like RN stuff. And so like, if I wanted to do that, I would have had to go to nursing school, which they're so similar. It wouldn't like make a ton of sense for me to like go to nursing school just to become an NP when it's pretty similar to have the biology degree. So other than that, I would say one thing the PA does have that NP does have, great things, but the PA part does let you have a little bit more like flexibility with what specialty you pick, and you're also able to switch in and out of specialties, that lateral mobility. There you go.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that in a second, but I'm going to go on the side of NPs for a second just to play devil's advocate with you.
Yeah.
So although nurse practitioners and physicians have one thing in common, it's that they're able to establish independent practices relatively easy. We're starting to see it more now, more so than ever, especially in rural parts of Montana. I see a lot of NPs running these private clinics, and currently PAs to my knowledge, cannot work independently without physician oversight. There does, however, exist a movement to make PAs more independent and autonomous. However, at this point, it's just a movement. Does this lack of autonomy bother you?
Me personally, it doesn't. When you know, assuming you've done your research when you sign up to do your PA school or whatever, like you're doing it with the knowledge that, yeah, you're having a supervising physician, which is, you know, someone to reference with, someone that's going to teach you how to do like tons of stuff. So I don't see that as like anything I would like, I wouldn't like. And then it's also like, if you choose to, in certain areas, like you're talking about like rural Montana and stuff, or there are instances where like, yeah, you have a supervising physician, but they, you know, how often you have to check in with them is like highly variable. So you can have a supervising physician that like comes through town like once a month, and you're really kind of there doing your own thing. If that's something that at some point in your career you think, you know, you kind of want to be doing your own deal, you can find a situation like that pretty easily. Those rural places always need care providers. So.
Right. And what is that like? Because when I first envisioned what a physician assistant was, and this was way early on, way younger, Andrew, I envisioned a physician assistant being maybe next to the physician in the room with a patient with like a clipboard, and just working completely alongside, completely dependent on the physician. And the more I became educated on the profession, it seems like you have your patient. You are working directly with the patient. Like you are the one who has the most communication and a lot of autonomy truly over that patient. You just are being overseen by a physician, and all of your work is overseen by a physician. Can you elaborate a little bit more on just what this looks like, what this feels like in a sense, to give us a better idea of what it is like to be a PA?
Yeah, so from what I understand, and I haven't been out in like clinic yet to like get
Sure,
like
acknowledging
a great
that
idea
you're still
of
in
this.
didactics.
Yeah, but so eventually the plan is that, yeah, you're basically seeing your own patients. I think at some level they kind of have to like run through like what you're doing, like your orders and stuff, and like sign off on them. But once you get to the point where they're comfortable with you seeing, they're comfortable with like your ability to, you know, diagnose and see other patients, you know, you're doing your own thing. But for probably like, from what I understand, for most people, like the first year that you're out of school and you're working somewhere with a clinic, you're going to be working like super close with like your supervising physician, who's going to be setting up like goals for you for like what he wants you, like what types of patients he wants you to see, like what he wants you to be working towards to like get good at, and he'll hopefully they'll hopefully be able to sort of guide you in that first year and sort of mold you towards what the practice needs out of you. So
Yeah, well said. So while general PA roles involve mitigating barriers for patients and providing more cost-effective and more geographically diverse care than physicians, specifically PA roles vary from nation to nation, from state to state, from region to region. What notable rules and regulations are in your particular region?
okay, so the one I was thinking, I read this earlier, and one little one here. So I'm in Oregon right now, and I believe, so to be like one of like the board members or something for like the medical board here, you have to have a doctorate. So PAs only have master's degrees. So it's like there's doctors and NPs on the like medical board or whatever, but there's no PAs, because it's just like the way the legislation is written. Like even though we're like providers, we don't have doctorates, so like we're not allowed to be up there and like advocating for the profession as much as we should be able to, I guess. So I believe was something like being proposed to like change that, which I think should be changed. I feel like, you know, any of those providers should all have a say in what's going on. So, but yeah, there's like tons of like other like little things that differ between states in terms of like scope of practice, but that's just, I don't know like all of those. They're not like huge deals for the most part. You can basically do the same thing wherever. It might just be like slight variations on what you can do, but yeah, probably just like different stuff with like weird legislature, like politics, weird stuff. So
It is very interesting, very, very strange.
yeah.
But that's politics for you.
Right.
On another note, I've heard that you enjoy fly fishing and bouldering, and specific to climbing in particular. And this is coming from my sergeant at arms here. You're rumored to be a controlled climber as opposed to one defined solely by brute strength or just really dynamic movements and dynos and whatever. Expound upon who you are outside of medicine and why this will make you a better PA.
Yeah, I don't know if my climbing, it's like problem solving, I guess. I don't know if my climbing directly, translates to anything in medicine, but I will say that having those hobbies is what like keeps me in school, like prevents me from like just going crazy. Burnout, I guess, is the popular word for that. So just like having those things I can fall back on that like I really do enjoy, that are fairly easily accessible, that just like stuff like that just keeps me sane.
Yeah, I think Michael can speak to that as well. Michael, does that sound about right? Because I know you are an avid ice climber as well. I just run. Is that right?
Given this season, I think I've gotten a lot into that hobby. But I think just echoing what Alex had said, at least when we have climbed together, I think there's definitely moments that it helps take your mind off of the academic load. And with that, it's good to have those outlets.
Being that, Michael, you are pursuing becoming a doctor and Alex is pursuing becoming a paramedic. Alex, did you check in with Michael before doing while climbing with him? Did it resonate kind of like that, or how was climbing with Michael?
Sorry, the audio went really quiet there. Could you just repeat the end of that question real quick? Sorry about that.
Sure. No, the audio did get kind of weird at that point. Really boiled down to how climbing specifically was with Michael. Just a little side.
Oh, it was good. It was a good time. It was fun. Yeah, we always would make the routes or set the routes on the wall.
Well, I think you crushed it that first time that you we climbed outside.
Yeah.
You went up the whole route. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. It's an interesting sport. A lot of people are so passionate about it here. I think it's a great way to flex your problem-solving skills rather than just take another math class or something here.
Yeah. Alex, are you still finding some time to balance that? I'm curious how the balance is with PA school currently. I know with the academic rigor being online, I don't know if that allows for more or less flexibility.
Yeah, I mean, I have if it's not a test week, I'll go climb a few days. I don't have as much time to go fishing just because like everywhere is like a pretty far drive compared to like obviously Helena. I could drive like 10 minutes and be somewhere. So, but yeah, I'm still getting a little bit of climbing in. The balance, honestly, like PA school, it's like hard, but it's definitely doable. You have plenty of time for yourself. So.
Yeah, and you're in the Portland area, right? So I guess, yeah, when I'm back this summer, I think there is someone I can link you with to find a good location for fishing. He actually is an avid. He goes out often himself.
Cool.
So he's a local, and so.
Yeah. Cool.
You can always count on Michael for providing the plug.
Yeah, no kidding. Has super helpful stuff.
Well, as we wind down this interview, and as the Carroll Pre-Med is listening to this possibly struggling on their journey might be considering becoming a PA versus going to become an MD or a DO, what final words of wisdom do you have for them?
I don't know. I guess just, yeah, do your own research, and whatever decision you make, that's the right decision for you. So, if you're applying and you're set on doing that, even if you're going through whatever rough stuff, you're not hearing back from schools or whatever. I went through that, but just have faith in yourself and know that you worked as hard as you could to get to where you're at now. So, at that point, you've done all you can, and things will come together for you guys for sure. So.
We end another episode of Carroll PMC's video interview series and wrap up another story for you guys. And I got a lot out of talking to Alex today, as I'm sure that Michael did as well. Specifically, what was most impactful for me was touching on various elements about, becoming a PA and becoming an NP, or becoming an MD or DO. That's a hard decision. And it's not something that one person like Alex could answer for you. I like the insight that Alex brought into it so far as it needs to be a personalized decision. You truly need to do a rehash of who you are and consider all the characteristics about yourself and your strengths and weaknesses in order to ultimately decide what profession is right for you. It's not enough to just say you want to go into medicine, you want to help people, you love science. There truly needs to be, and openness is important in the process, but there truly needs to be some sort of process at which you start to narrow down specifically how you want to impact medicine, how you want to ultimately serve in the field of medicine.
And I also, what I took away from this amazing interview with Alex was his experiences. I thought were so unique in how it built his character, from his time working in a nursing home to the children's hospital in Helena, Shodair's Children's Hospital, and St. Peter's Health at the behavioral health unit as a mental health tech. I think something he emphasizes focusing on your own health and being able to find that time, whether it be for him bouldering or fishing, and being able to balance that was something that was great. And also, I think what was really unique in our conversations today with him was during the pandemic, his study habits or techniques that he built early on in his undergraduate by limiting distractions and also continuing to focus on the goal he set ahead.
Thank you for taking the time to listen and or watch us today. Hopefully this helped you guys gain some motivation or insight into what it takes to become a successful pre-medical or pre-PA student. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Carroll PMC officials, schedule an office hour slot with myself on Moodle, or contact Carroll faculty at work. Michael, do you have a quote to send us off?
I do. Thank you, President Zwijak. It is, you can't do big things if you're distracted by the small things.
Patty, Sergeant. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time.